know what it was yet. Do you, Marcus, take Jessica to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live. I do, Marcus said, though his voice cracked slightly. And do you, Jessica, take Marcus to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live. Jessica's eyes met mine for just a moment. I smiled at her, a calm, knowing smile that made her voice shake as she answered. I do. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words hung in the air. Everyone held their breath. All eyes turned to me. This was my moment if I wanted it. I could stand up right now, expose everything, and destroy their ceremony. Instead, I simply smiled and said nothing. The confusion on their faces was delicious. They had expected me to make a scene, to stop the wedding. But I had something much better planned. I wanted them married. I wanted them legally bound together before I revealed the truth about who they really were. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant declared. You may kiss the bride. Marcus kissed Jessica, but there was no joy in it. Just relief that the ceremony was over, and growing dread about what would come next. The reception revelation. The reception was held in the estate's grand ballroom. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Round tables were covered in white linens and pink roses. A live band played soft music as guests found their seats and servers brought out the first course. James and I sat at a table near the dance floor. I had made sure of that. I needed everyone to be able to see and hear what was about to happen. Marcus and Jessica sat at the head table, trying to smile for photos while stealing nervous glances in my direction. They barely touched their food. Music filled the air as the ceremony began. Marcus walked down the aisle with his mother, looking nervous but happy in his tuxedo. When he reached the altar and turned to face the guests, his eyes swept across the crowd. Then they landed on me. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened slightly in shock. He looked like he might actually faint. The officiant had to say his name twice to get his attention back to the ceremony. Next came the wedding party. Bridesmaids in pale pink dresses, groomsmen in matching suits. And then, finally, Jessica appeared at the end of the aisle. I had to admit, she looked beautiful. Her dress was stunning, probably worth more than she made in 3 months. Stolen money looked good on her. Her face was glowing with happiness as she walked toward Marcus, completely unaware that I was sitting just rows away. Then she saw me. Her step faltered. Her smile froze on her face. For a moment, I thought she might actually turn and run. But she was trapped by the crowd, by the expectations, by the hundreds of eyes watching her. She had no choice but to continue walking toward the altar, toward Marcus, toward the future they had built on lies. When she reached Marcus's side, I could see them whispering urgently to each other. Marcus's face was red. Jessica kept glancing back at me, her eyes wide with panic. But the ceremony had to continue. They had no escape. The vows of deception. The officiant began speaking about love, commitment, and honesty. I almost laughed at the irony. These two people, who had betrayed me and were now keeping massive secrets from each other, were standing there promising eternal faithfulness. Marriage is built on trust, the officiant said, on being truthful with one another, even when the truth is difficult. Jessica's hand trembled as she held Marcus's. He was sweating. I could see it from where I sat. They both knew I was here for a reason. They just didn't. You'll see soon enough, I promised with a smile. Just trust me. And when things get interesting, follow my lead. Should I be worried? He asked with a laugh. Not at all, I assured him. In fact, I think you're going to enjoy this. The uninvited guest. We arrived at the estate just as guests were beginning to gather for the ceremony. I had not RSVP'd, had not asked for permission to attend. I simply walked in like I belonged there, James at my side, confidence radiating from every step. The reaction was immediate. Heads turned. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. I saw Rachel's jaw drop. Mike looked like he had seen a ghost. Claire, Marcus's sister, actually smiled and gave me a small nod of approval. But the best reactions were yet to come. I found seats near the back, close to the aisle where I would have a perfect view. As more guests arrived, more people recognized me. The whispers grew louder. That's Sarah. What is she doing here? She looks amazing. Do Marcus and Jessica know she's here? The wedding coordinator, a stressed-looking woman with a clipboard, hurried over to us. Excuse me, I don't have you on the guest list. Oh, I'm so sorry, I said sweetly. Jessica and I go way back. She personally invited me. Perhaps she forgot to add my name? I'd hate to cause any trouble on her special day. The coordinator looked uncertain, glancing between me and the growing crowd of guests. Making a scene now would be worse than letting me stay. Well, if Jessica invited you personally. She did, I lied smoothly. In fact, I brought a special gift for the happy couple. I'll present it during the reception, if that's all right. Of course, the coordinator said, still looking uncomfortable. Enjoy the ceremony. As she walked away, James leaned over and whispered, You're terrifying. You know that, right? I smiled. Just wait. The ceremony begins. The night before the wedding, my mother called. Sarah, are you sure about this? You've come so far. Why go back? I'm not going back, Mom, I assured her. I'm moving forward. I'm closing a chapter. And I'm making sure they understand that betrayal has consequences. Just promise me you'll be careful, she said. Don't let this consume you. It won't, I promised. After tomorrow, I'll be free. Completely and totally free. As I hung up, I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back was strong, confident, and ready. She had been tested by fire and had emerged as steel. Tomorrow, Marcus and Jessica would learn what I had become. Tomorrow, they would understand that underestimating me was the biggest mistake they ever made. Tomorrow, the story would finally come full circle. And I couldn't wait to see the looks on their faces when they realized the truth. The perfect victim they had destroyed had become the architect of their downfall. The game was almost over, and I held all the winning cards. The wedding day arrives. The morning of Marcus and Jessica's wedding dawned bright and clear. I stood in my hotel room, looking out at the venue across the street. The Grand Rose Estate was exactly the kind of place Jessica had always dreamed about. Elegant gardens, a marble fountain, columns wrapped in white flowers. She had gotten her fairy tale setting, paid for with stolen money and broken trust. I took my time getting ready. Every detail had to be perfect. The emerald dress fit like a dream, elegant but not attention-seeking. My makeup was flawless, highlighting my features without being dramatic. My hair fell in soft waves over my shoulders. I looked beautiful, successful, and completely unbothered. Exactly the image I wanted to project. James picked me up at noon. He looked handsome in his tailored suit, and I could see the curiosity in his eyes. You're really not going to tell me what this is about? He asked as we drove toward the venue. I picked up my phone and called James Chun. James, I need a favor. It's personal, but I promise it won't interfere with business. What do you need, Sarah? He asked. I need you to help me attend a wedding, I said. As my date. The invitation. A week before the wedding, I sent a gift to Marcus and Jessica. It was delivered to their apartment by a professional courier service. Inside the elegant box was a crystal vase, expensive and beautiful. The card attached read, To Marcus and Jessica, congratulations on your upcoming marriage. May you always be as honest with each other as you were with me. All my best wishes, Sarah Anderson. I knew they would panic when they saw my name. I knew they would wonder what I was planning. I knew they would spend the week before their wedding looking over their shoulders, wondering if I would show up. And they would be right to worry, because I had every intention of attending their wedding. Not to stop it, not to make a scene, but to deliver a gift they would never forget. A gift of truth, wrapped in consequences, presented at the perfect moment. Jessica had once said I was too perfect, that I needed to learn things don't always go my way. She was right about one thing. I had learned. But the lesson wasn't about accepting defeat. It was about fighting back smarter than your enemies expect. The final preparations. The week before the wedding flew by in a blur of preparation. I had my dress custom made, a stunning emerald green that made my eyes shine and showed off the figure I had worked hard to achieve. I had my hair styled by the city's best salon. I practiced my speech until every word was perfect. James agreed to be my date, intrigued by the mysterious mission I had hinted at. Diana provided me with a small envelope containing copies of all her findings. And I prepared a presentation on my laptop, something special for the reception. Wedding expenses, Diana said, pointing to credit card statements. She's been planning a lavish wedding that she can't afford. Designer dress, expensive venue, luxury honeymoon. She's been stealing to fund her fairy tale. But that wasn't the worst of it. Diana pulled out more documents. And Marcus? He's been fired from Tech Vision. That deal he lost, your deal, was his last chance. He's been unemployed for 2 weeks, but he hasn't told Jessica. He's been leaving for work every day and spending his time at coffee shops, lying about business meetings. I sat back, processing this information. Both of them were living lies, keeping secrets from each other, building their relationship on a foundation of deception. They had destroyed my life to be together, and they couldn't even be honest with each other. There's one more thing, Diana said carefully. Marcus has been messaging other women on dating apps. Nothing physical yet, as far as I can tell, but he's looking. He's already planning his exit before the marriage even happens. The irony was almost poetic. Jessica had stolen my fiancé, and now he was preparing to cheat on her too. She thought she had won some prize, but she had just inherited a lifetime of betrayal. The perfect plan takes shape. That night, I sat in my apartment with all of Diana's findings spread across my dining table. I had everything I needed to destroy them both. I could send the embezzlement evidence to Jessica's company. I could tell Jessica about Marcus's unemployment and his dating app activity. I could expose them both and watch their lives crumble. But that felt too simple, too quick. They had humiliated me publicly, turned my friends against me, and tried to destroy my career. They deserved something more creative, something that would teach them a lesson they would never forget. An idea began to form. It was bold. It was risky. But if I could pull it off, it would be absolutely perfect. The investigation. The next morning, I called a private investigator named Diana Ross. Yes, that was really her name. And yes, she had heard all the jokes. Diana had been recommended by a colleague as someone who was discreet, thorough, and absolutely reliable. Miss Anderson, she said as we met in her downtown office. What can I help you with? I need information on 2 people, I said, sliding a folder across her desk. Marcus Whitfield and Jessica Torres. I want to know everything. Their finances, their relationship, any secrets they might be keeping. Diana opened the folder, scanning the basic information I had provided. May I ask why? They betrayed me, I said simply, and I want to make sure I know exactly who they are before they make the biggest mistake of their lives. She looked at me with understanding. How deep do you want me to dig? All the way to the bottom, I replied. I want to know everything they don't want anyone else to know. Diana nodded. It'll take a couple of weeks, maybe 3. My fee is. Money isn't an issue, I interrupted. I just need the truth. Then you'll have it, she promised. The unexpected discovery. 2 weeks later, Diana called me with an urgency in her voice I hadn't heard before. Sarah, we need to meet. Today if possible. I've found something you need to see. We met at the same coffee shop where I had signed the deal that cost Marcus's client. Diana pulled out a thick folder, her expression serious. I've been doing this job for 15 years, she said. And this is one of the messiest situations I've ever uncovered. She opened the folder, showing me printed documents, screenshots, financial records. As I read through them, my eyes widened. Jessica has been embezzling from her company, Diana explained. Small amounts over the past year, but it adds up to nearly $50,000. She's been careful, but not careful enough. Why? I asked, though I suspected I knew the answer. The likes and comments flooded in, but I barely noticed them. Because that evening, I received a message that changed everything. It was from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Jessica. We need to talk. The first contact. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her sit with the uncertainty. But I was curious. What could Jessica possibly have to say to me now? What do you want, Jessica? I typed back. The response came quickly. I know you're back online. I saw your pictures. You look good. I'm happy for you. I laughed out loud at that. Happy for me? After everything she had done? Cut to the point, Jessica. Why are you messaging me? There was a longer pause this time. Then, Marcus and I are getting married next month. I wanted you to hear it from me, not through other people. I know things ended badly, but I hope we can move past it eventually. We were best friends once. My hands tightened around my phone. They were getting married. In 1 month. The audacity of reaching out to tell me this, as if we were casual acquaintances who had drifted apart, was breathtaking. Congratulations, I typed back, keeping my tone neutral. I hope you'll be very happy together. Really? Her response showed surprise. I thought you'd be upset. Jessica, I've moved on. I have a new life, a better life. What you and Marcus do is no longer my concern. Another pause. That's very mature of you, Sarah. I'm glad you're doing well. Maybe someday we can all be friends again. I almost laughed again. Friends? She truly believed that enough time had passed, that my success meant I had forgiven them. She had no idea that every step I had taken, every move I had made, had been leading to this moment. Maybe, I typed. Life is full of surprises. After she stopped responding, I sat back and smiled. Jessica had given me exactly what I needed, the date of their wedding. 1 month. For weeks to put the final pieces of my plan into. Actually, James said, his tone shifting. I found him arrogant and unprofessional. He assumed the deal was already done, talked over my team, and dismissed my concerns. I've been looking for a reason not to sign with TechVision. I met his eyes, seeing an opportunity one hadn't expected. And have you found one? I'm looking at her, he said. Your presentation was everything his wasn't. Professional, thorough, and respectful. If you can deliver what you've promised, Sarah, the contract is yours. As I walked out of that coffee shop with a signed preliminary agreement, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not just satisfaction, but power. Marcus had no idea that his ex-fiancée had just cost him the deal that would have saved his job. And this was only the beginning. The social media return. That evening, I did something I had been planning for weeks. I recreated my social media accounts, but this time on my terms. The old Sarah had posted about Marcus, about wedding plans, about making others happy. The new Sarah's feed told a different story. Photos of me at business conferences, shaking hands with industry leaders. Pictures from my new apartment with its stunning view. Snapshots from my weekend hiking trips, my face glowing with genuine happiness. And carefully selected shots that showed my new life. Elegant, successful, and completely independent. I didn't mention Marcus or Jessica. I didn't need to. The photos spoke for themselves. I looked better than I ever had. I was thriving in ways I never had before. And I made sure to tag locations and people that I knew would make my old circle notice. Within hours, the friend requests started coming in. Rachel, Mike, even Claire, Marcus's sister. People who had watched me fall apart were now watching me rise, and they wanted back in. I accepted some requests and ignored others. I posted a simple status. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming the person you were meant to be all along. But the best part of my professional success was something I had discovered by accident. My new position required me to work closely with Donovan Industries, one of the biggest tech companies in the country. And Donovan Industries was the main competitor of Marcus's company. Marcus worked in sales at TechVision, a mid-sized firm that had been struggling lately. Through my work connections, I had learned that TechVision was desperately trying to land a contract with a major client, a contract that would save the company from potential layoffs. That same client was now sitting across from me in a coffee shop, shaking my hand. The unexpected ally. Miss Anderson, thank you for meeting with me, said James Chun, the CEO of the client company Marcus's firm was chasing. Patricia speaks very highly of your strategic vision. Please, call me Sarah, I said, smiling professionally. I've reviewed your company's needs, and I believe we can offer you exactly what you're looking for. We talked for an hour about business, about solutions, about the future. James was impressed, I could tell. But there was something else in his expression, a curiosity that went beyond business. If you don't mind me saying, he said carefully, you seem familiar. Have we met before? I don't think so, I replied. Though I used to live on the East Coast. Perhaps our paths crossed at a conference. He shook his head, then his eyes widened with recognition. Wait, Sarah Anderson, were you engaged to Marcus Whitfield at TechVision? My smile didn't falter, though my heart rate increased. That was a lifetime ago. A different person entirely. James leaned back, studying me with new interest. I heard about what happened. Marcus pitched to my company last month. He mentioned being newly engaged to someone named Jessica. He seemed quite pleased with himself. I'm sure he is, I said calmly. Marcus always lands on his feet. 6 months later, a new beginning. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new apartment in Seattle. I stood on the balcony, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up below me. 6 months ago, I had arrived here broken and defeated. Today, I barely recognized the person I had been. The woman who left that hotel room had been shattered into pieces. But I had learned something important about broken things. When you put them back together, you can rebuild them stronger than before. You can decide which pieces to keep and which to leave behind. I had left behind the Sarah who bent herself into shapes to please others. The Sarah who ignored red flags because she wanted to believe in love. The Sarah who made herself small so others could feel big. That Sarah was gone forever. In her place stood someone new. Someone who had spent 6 months learning to value herself again. Someone who had discovered her own strength. And someone who had very carefully, very patiently, been planning something extraordinary. The professional rise. My new position at the Seattle office had been a blessing in disguise. Without the distraction of wedding planning and the energy drain of Marcus's needs, I had thrown myself into my work with complete focus. The results had been remarkable. Within 3 months, I had led a project that brought in the company's largest client in 5 years. My boss, Patricia, had called me into her office last week with news that still made me smile. "Sarah, the board is impressed with your work. We're promoting you to senior director. You'll be leading the entire West Coast division." The promotion came with a significant raise, a corner office, and something even more valuable: respect. People listened when I spoke now. They valued my opinions. They saw me as a leader, not as someone's fiancé or someone's friend. I sat on that hotel bed for hours, my mind racing through everything that had happened. Marcus and Jessica had betrayed me in the worst way possible. They had turned our friends against me. They were trying to ruin my career. And they were moving forward with their lives as if I was nothing more than an inconvenience they had overcome. But as I sat there, something inside me shifted. The crying stopped. The shaking stopped. In its place came something cold and clear and absolutely certain. They thought I was perfect, that I had never struggled, that I would just fade away quietly. They thought I would accept their story and disappear. They were wrong. I opened my laptop and started making notes. Every lie Marcus had told. Every manipulation Jessica had performed. Every mutual friend who had known and said nothing. I documented everything, saved every message, every email, every photo. If they wanted to play games, I would learn the rules. If they wanted to destroy me, I would become indestructible. And when the time was right, when they felt safe and happy and secure in their victory, I would remind them of something important. I wasn't perfect. I was something far more dangerous. I was underestimated. The first step. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel and drove to my parents' house. My mother took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug that broke something open inside me. I cried for hours, telling her everything. When I finally stopped, she held my face in her hands. "Sarah, my strong girl, what do you need?" "I need to disappear for a while," I said. "I need to figure out who I am without Marcus, without Jessica, without any of them." "Then that's exactly what you'll do," she said firmly. I spent the next week tying up loose ends. I transferred to a different office in a different city, a promotion I had been offered months ago but turned. No one mentioned me. It was as if I had been erased, written out of the story completely. In their version, Jessica and Marcus were star-crossed lovers who found each other despite the odds. I was just an obstacle they had overcome. I called my mother, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. She answered on the first ring, her voice thick with sleep. "Sarah? It's 2 a.m. What's wrong?" I tried to speak, but the words caught in my throat. Finally, I managed. "Mom, I need to come home." "What happened, sweetheart?" "Everything," I whispered. "Everything happened. The cost of trust." The next morning, I woke up to more messages. The wedding venue wanted to know if we were still having the ceremony. The caterer needed final numbers. The florist needed to confirm the bouquet design. Each message was a reminder of the future I had built in my mind, now crumbling to dust. But there was another message too, one that made my heart stop. It was from my boss. "Sarah, we need to talk. There have been complaints about your behavior at the office. Please come see me first thing Monday morning." Complaints? I had been nothing but professional at work. I called my colleague and friend, David, who worked in the same department. "David, what's going on? What complaints?" He hesitated. "Sarah, I don't know how to tell you this. Jessica called HR last week. She said you've been harassing her, sending her threatening messages, making her uncomfortable. She filed a formal complaint." The room spun. "What? That's not true. I never." "I know," David said quickly. "I know you didn't. But she provided screenshots of texts. They look like they came from your number. Fake texts. Jessica had somehow created fake evidence to destroy my professional reputation, probably to protect herself if I tried to expose what she had done. She hadn't just stolen my fiancé. She was trying to destroy my entire life. The decision. I left that apartment in a daze. I drove without knowing where I was going, my phone buzzing constantly with messages. Word traveled fast. By the time I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot, my phone showed 63 missed calls and over 100 texts. Most were from mutual friends. But as I read through them, my blood ran cold. They weren't messages of support. They were messages of pity, some even of judgment. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," wrote Rachel, another friend from our circle. "We all knew something was going on, but we didn't know how to tell you," said Mike, Marcus's best man. They all knew. Every single person in our friend group had known about Marcus and Jessica, and no one told me. I had been the only fool at the party, planning a wedding while everyone else watched me with pitying eyes. One message stood out. It was from Marcus's sister, Claire. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I told Marcus months ago this was wrong. He said you two had an understanding. I should have reached out to you directly. Please forgive me." An understanding. Marcus had told people we had some kind of arrangement, as if I had given permission for this betrayal. He had rewritten our entire relationship to justify his actions, and I had been too blind to see it happening. The breaking point. That night, I sat in a hotel room, unable to face the apartment that no longer felt like home. I looked at my phone, at the social media accounts where Jessica and I smiled in countless photos. "Best friends forever," the caption said. "Partners in crime. Soul sisters." I clicked on Jessica's profile. She had already posted something new. A photo of her hand with a ring on it, different from any I had seen before. The caption read, "Sometimes love finds you in unexpected places. When you know, you know." The comments were flowing in. "Congratulations. So happy for you. You deserve this." Jessica, every doubt, every worry, every moment of wedding stress. "So this is my fault?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I worked hard to build our future, and that gave you permission to betray me?" Jessica finally spoke, her voice small. "Sarah, you don't understand. Marcus and I, we have something real. We didn't mean for it to happen, but we fell in love. We tried to fight it." "You tried to fight it?" I repeated, my mind struggling to process her words. "You're my best friend. You helped me pick out my wedding dress. You threw me a bridal shower last month. And all that time, you were sleeping with my fiancé." She had the audacity to look hurt by my tone. "It's not that simple. You were always so perfect, Sarah. Perfect job, perfect relationship, perfect life. You never struggled like the rest of us. Maybe you needed to learn that things don't always go your way." The network of lies. That's when it hit me. The way she said it, so casually, as if my pain was deserved. This wasn't just about Marcus. This was about something deeper, something that had been festering in our friendship for years without me seeing it. "How long have you hated me?" I asked Jessica quietly. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Marcus stepped between us, his hand raised as if to calm a situation he had created. "Look, Sarah, we need to handle this like adults. The wedding is obviously off. I'll move out this weekend. We can split everything down the middle. No need to make this dramatic." Dramatic? The word exploded out of me. "You cheated on me with my best friend for half a year, and I'm being dramatic?" "See, this is exactly what I'm talking about," Marcus said, his voice taking on that condescending tone I suddenly realized he had used many times before. "You always overreact. Everything is a crisis with you. Jessica and I are happy. Can't you just accept that and move on?" The public shame. The grocery bags slipped from my hands. The sound of breaking glass as the wine bottle shattered on the hardwood floor made them both turn. For a single frozen moment, all three of us just stared at each other. Jessica's face went pale. Marcus sat up quickly, his expression shifting from shock to something that looked almost like annoyance. "Sarah," he said, as if my name was an explanation. "This isn't what it looks like." I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of that sentence, the oldest cliché in the book, coming out of his mouth while he sat in our bed with my best friend, was too much. My laughter turned to something else, something that sounded like sobbing, but felt like rage. "Really, Marcus?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "What does it look like then?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my fiancé is sleeping with my maid of honor in the bed we picked out together." Jessica grabbed a sheet, wrapping it around herself. Sarah, please. Let me explain. Explain? The word came out as a shout. Explain what, Jessica? How long has this been going on? Days? Weeks? Months? The guilty silence that followed told me everything. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. A choice they had made again and again while I planned a wedding, while I talked about forever, while I trusted them both completely. The cruelest words. Marcus got out of bed, pulling on his pants with casual ease that made my stomach turn. He looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, cold and almost cruel. You want the truth, Sarah? Fine. This has been going on for 6 months. 6 months of you being so busy with your career, so focused on being perfect, that you stopped noticing me. Jessica actually listens when I talk. She makes me feel alive. Each word was a knife. 6 months. While I worked overtime to save for our wedding. While I planned every detail to make our day perfect. While I told. The day everything shattered. The rain hammered against my car windows as I sat in the parking lot, staring at the apartment building I had called home for 3 years. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I had left work early, excited to surprise Marcus with his favorite dinner. Our wedding was just 2 months away, and I wanted to celebrate the final venue deposit we had made together last week. The diamond ring on my finger caught the gray afternoon light. Marcus had proposed on a beach at sunset, getting down on one knee in front of strangers who clapped and cheered. He told me I was his everything, his future, his reason for breathing. I believed every word. I grabbed the bags of groceries from the passenger seat and hurried through the rain toward our building. The elevator seemed slower than usual as I rode up to the 5th floor, my mind already planning the evening. Candlelight, wine, his favorite pasta dish, and maybe we could finally decide on the honeymoon destination. The sound that changed my life. Our apartment door was unlocked. That should have been my first warning. Marcus always locked it when he came home early. I pushed it open quietly, not wanting to startle him if he was napping. The living room was empty, but I heard sounds coming from our bedroom. Laughter. Low voices. My heart started racing for reasons I didn't want to understand. I walked down the hallway, each step feeling heavier than the last. The bedroom door was slightly open. Through the gap, I could see movement. My brain tried to make sense of what my eyes were seeing, tried to find innocent explanations. But there are some things that cannot be misunderstood. Marcus was in our bed, but he wasn't alone. And the woman with him, wearing my silk robe, laughing at something he whispered in her ear, was Jessica, my best friend since college, my maid of honor, the person I trusted with every secret, every fear, every dream. The moment time stopped,